Hey everybody, welcome back for another video. This is the 2021 Year in Review tag. I was tagged by Scott, the Bald Booktuber, and this list of questions was created by Andrew at Andrew's Wizardly Reads. So I'm going to leave links to their videos down below so you can check out their versions of this and hear their answers as well. So this is really straightforward, you guys. I've got a list of questions and they are straightforward, and I have done my best to pare my list down because in true Madison fashion, I originally had like 3 or 4 answers for every question, but I'm gonna try to keep this straightforward and actually only pick one for each category. So for people who watch my videos regularly, this is going to be a lot of recap. But for people who are new to the channel, this is a great video to start with because it'll give you a good idea of what kinds of books I like to read, what to expect from me in 2022, and just in general, what we do here. So I have the clipboard and the questions are ready, and I'm ready to move forward with just one. Let's see, just one answer per question. This is hard for me. Okay, so the first question is favorite book of the year. Now, if you watched my top 10 favorite things I read in 2021 video, you already know that I kind of copped out for my number 1 answer and included like a whole group of books for number 1. I'm not going to do that today. I went ahead and picked one book for this answer. My favorite thing I read in 2021 is 11/22/63 by Stephen King. I absolutely love this book. I read it in November of 2021 and I just can't stop thinking about it. I loved everything about it. The characters, the love story, there's time travel, historical fiction. There's even some classic Stephen King Easter egg, creepy stuff in there. Even though this is not a horror book, you still get a little bit of those Stephen King scares that everyone loves. So if you've never read this book, but you're already a Stephen King fan, like what are you waiting for? This is going to absolutely be a home run. If you've never read any Stephen King books before, this is a pretty decent place to start in my opinion, because it's a great example of how Stephen King can write any genre. He's not just creepy clowns and reanimated pets. He can write anything. And this book right here has a little bit of everything, and he does it masterfully. So that is my favorite book I read in 2021. All right, number 2 is your favorite series that you started in 2021 but have not finished. So this one was kind of tricky for me because I actually did wrap up most everything that I started in 2021. There were some things that I started in 2020, so I didn't really count those. But for the most part, everything I started in 2021, I finished or DNF'd. There were a few series that I decided to walk away from. There's only a few that I started last year, but also haven't finished. And I decided to show you guys this book, The Son of the Black Sword by Larry Correia. It is book 1 of the Forgotten Warrior saga. Now, I read this at the very, very, very end of 2021. And so I didn't really include it in any of my year-end wrap-up stuff initially because I was worried that I was just biased because I had read it so recently. But we're almost a month later now, or maybe even a little more than a month later since I've read this book. And it's real. Like, I love it. I can't stop talking about it, thinking about it. I've actually gone ahead and read book number 2 since then, and I'm still pretty into it. So this is a series that is not completed yet. There are 3 books out. I'm not sure how many he has planned, but he is a guy that writes books very consistently. And so I'm actually really looking forward to the fact that not only do I have more to read, there's 1 book left that I haven't read yet, but I know that there's more to come, and I like having things to look forward to. I like having new releases to anticipate. So I started this at the end of 2021, and it is probably one of my favorite ongoing series as of now. So I don't know why this is not like a household name, really wildly popular, but the Forgotten Warrior Saga is the name of the series, and book 1 is Son of the Black Sword. I don't know why everyone's not talking about this book, but it's definitely one of my favorite things that I started in 2021, and I'm looking forward to finishing it. Question 3 is your favorite series that you finished in 2021. So I actually have two answers for this, but hold on. The first answer is a series that I started and finished, completed the whole thing in 2021. And for that, without a shadow of a doubt, for me, it is Raya Revelations and Raya Chronicles by Michael J. Sullivan. It is no mystery to everyone that I adore this series. I just had so much fun with it. I think it's so good. It has so many memorable characters, and it's everything I love about fantasy and everything I love about big series. So without a shadow of a doubt, my favorite thing that I started and finished, completed in 2021 is Raya by Michael J. Sullivan. On that same note, the next question is your favorite new author you discovered in 2021. And for me, it has to be Michael J. Sullivan. I read all of Raya Revelations in 2021. I also read Raya Chronicles, and I am working my way through Legends of the First Empire. And I've adored every single one of those books. So it just wouldn't be right if I didn't say that Michael J. Sullivan is my favorite author I discovered in 2021. And by discovered, I mean I read him for the first time in 2021. I certainly did not discover him. He was recommended to me by Mike at Mike's Book Reviews, and that is one of my favorite recommendations I've ever received because he was spot on. He said I was going to love it, and I did. Just to give some shout outs here, I also read for the first time Andy Weir, Blake Crouch, Robin Hobb. Gosh, I'm probably forgetting things, but I read a lot of new to me things in 2021. It was a great year of reading, and I'm really, really happy with a lot of the new authors I discovered for myself in 2021. Number 5 is your favorite new character. And for me, that would be the Fool from the Farseer trilogy. So I really was intrigued by this character, the Fool, in books 1 and 2, but it wasn't until book 3 that I really just fell in love with this character and was completely just enamored by him, intrigued. I want to know more. And one cool thing about, that this is a trilogy, but there's this whole series, The Realm of the Elderlings, and from what I understand, I get to spend a lot more time with the Fool as I continue through the series. And so if you haven't read the series, Farseer, it's a trilogy, it's a 3-book trilogy. Pick it up so you can figure out what I'm talking about. This is one of the most intriguing characters I've ever read. And like I said, I really like him and was just like, what's going on with this character? I can't wait to figure out what his deal is. I want to know more about him. But when I got to this 3rd book in the trilogy, I just fell in love with him. And I cannot wait to go on more adventures with the Fool. So, side note, I'm a big Animal Companion fan. And this Farseer trilogy also introduced me to one of my favorite animal companions. That's a new character, right? One of my favorite animal companions of all times in Night Eyes. So huge recommendation for this series because it has some of my favorites in it already. I can't wait to keep going with the rest of the Realm of the Elderlings. All right, the next question is favorite new release of the year. And for me, that was The Wisdom of Crowds by Joe Abercrombie. Guys, I love Joe Abercrombie. I love Stephen Pacey, who reads the audiobooks. I love these characters. I love the villains. I love this world. I love all the questions, the mysteries. I just love everything about the First Law world in general. And I also could have included this series in favorite series that I finished because the First Law series is one of my favorites of all time. And where we're at right now, this is technically finished. I believe he'll come back to this world. Like I'm really holding on to that and hoping for that. But if I want to include this, I kind of wanted to do one per category, but I've already kind of messed that up. So I'm going to stick this in as a double with also favorite series that I completed this year because I'm totally caught up. I finished it. It's a trilogy, 3 standalones, and then another trilogy, and we're all caught up. So this was a new release this year. It was definitely my favorite of the year, and it's also one of my favorite series that I finished in 2021. Number 7 is your favorite reread of the year. And I didn't do a lot of rereading this year, but I did reread Dune. I plan to reread it every year. We'll see how that goes. But you guys, it was even better the second time around, kind of knowing going into it what the shape of the story was. Let me kind of spend more time getting to know the characters and their motives and just really diving into the politics, having the base knowledge of reading at once. It was even better the second time going into it. So I didn't do many rereads last year, but this was definitely my favorite. Question number 8 is biggest surprise of the year, and for me that's going to be Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. I had read The Martian, so I had already read a little bit of Andy Weir, but I knew that he had another book out that was kind of like hit or miss. Everyone loves The Martian because it's a great book. It's very, very popular, but then he has this other book that people aren't quite as keen on, and so when you only have 2 samplings from somebody and one's kind of a miss and the other one's like super, super popular, it kind of puts the author in a weird position. Like, what do we expect from this person? And Project Hail Mary was a huge hit for me. I say it was the biggest surprise because I just didn't really have a lot of expectations for it. It's out of my standard genre. I mean, I'm 80% fantasy is my bread and butter here, and then I sprinkle in other stuff. It is science fiction, which is another genre that I'm comfortable with and I love. But again, I didn't have a lot of expectations going into it, and I loved it. It ended up being one of my top 10 favorite things I read all year. And it's a book that I recommend to people all the time because no matter what genre you are most comfortable in, I think almost anybody would love this book because it's so well written and it has great characters and it actually has a lot of heart and warmth, which is not something I was expecting when I went into it. And that's something that makes it really unexpected, was that I did expect it to be good because I liked everything I read from Andy Weir. I just wasn't expecting the type of story that I got from it. It captured my heart. I know that sounds silly and cheesy, but it was a very heartwarming story. So very unexpected for me. All right, biggest disappointment of the year. This isn't going to be a big surprise for anybody. My biggest disappointment of the year was Malazan. 2021 was supposed to be the year of Malazan. I joined a big read-along, and I had every intention and every expectation of really, really clicking with it. I was ready for a big fantasy series. I wanted something that had a large fandom, that had, you know, people who had reread it 1,000 times and had, you know, Reddit forums and all these theories you could dive into, and I wanted to learn the maps, and I wanted to learn the languages and the people and the culture, and I love that about fantasy, and I had done it before, you know, with Game of Thrones and Wheel of Time, and I've deep dove into all these series before, and it had been a while for me, and I was ready to experience that again, and the click just never happened. There was some sort of really big disconnect between his writing style and me getting it. And by getting it, I don't mean that I didn't understand it, because I do feel like I understood the story. I just didn't like it. I didn't like the way it was presented to me. And being such a character-driven reader, I just never connected with the characters and the way that they were presented. So unfortunately for me, I have discontinued that read-along. I have DNF'd the series. I may come back to it at some other point in life, but as of now, I quit the series and I'm disappointed because I had so much hope and every intention of really being into it and loving it, and that just never happened for me. So that was a pretty big disappointment. And the one book from this year that you would recommend to anyone, again, very easy, not going to be a surprise. A Man Called Uva by Frederick Backman is a book that I love to recommend to people because it's just so good, and I think it's kind of a one-size-fits-all book, if such a thing exists. So this is not fantasy. It is not sci-fi. I don't know what you would call it, just a regular book. I don't really know what you call books like this, but I have recommended it to probably 15 people that have actually read it, and all but one have really, really, really loved it. And even that one person liked it. She just didn't really get it the same way I did. So I just absolutely love this book. It read easy, it felt good. I actually did the audiobook that's read by J.K. Simmons, and that's somebody that I really, really enjoy. And the way he presented the story just really hit home. And I love this book, and I love recommending it to just about anybody. The last question is to tag somebody, and I think I'm one of the last people to do this tag because everybody I know within the book community has either already done this tag or done something very, very similar on their own. So I'm not going to tag anybody, but if you make book videos and you would like to do this video, please record it and then let me know so I can watch your version of it. So Thanks for tuning in. I will also leave a copy and paste list of the questions. And if you don't make book videos, but you would just like to answer the questions in the comments, go for it. I am so excited to read those. So thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.